Welcome everybody to Epic Experiences. I am your host, Sanitra Skillern. Remember, EPIC stands for Encouraging People and Inspiring Communities. And today, in our presence, we have, introduce yourself to the people.
Hi people, I'm Temika Whitsett. I am the most, I don't know, I just do it all. So by trade, intervention specialist, but by experience, a little bit of all things. Dean of culture, you know.
Run it all down, run everything.
Oh Lord. Okay, so let's see. Dean of culture in my building, currently special education coordinator in my building. I am an entrepreneur. I have several businesses, one called Closet Treasures. You can catch us online. Shameless plug. We also have my cake business where I bake cakes and cupcakes and stuff like that called Dip Tasties, and I'm a mom extraordinary person, you know, extraordinary. Yeah, I do it a little bit of everything.
And I'm glad you said that because here at Epic Experiences we talk about a little bit of everything. We have a core topic, but it just pivots and goes, and so. You know, that's just how we roll. It starts on one thing and we can get off on a tangent that takes us someplace else, but it's always all good. So no fear, we just having a conversation. So I ask questions, but if you got questions, we really just converse. Like
just bouncing off the works of the mind.
Yeah,
you know?
That's it. So we're both educators by trade. And so our conversation is going to eventually get to the topic of education reimagined, because we've been in, how long you been in education?
So 20 years in real life, but as a licensed professional, 10 years. Okay. It was 10 years this school year.
Same with me. Hey!
Yes, hey, 10 years.
Yeah, so knowing, like you said, 20 years in real life, so you've seen a lot. And so talking about education reimagined, I want to, when we get there, we're going to talk about, like, if we had our pick, what would education be? How would we educate? Like? What it would look like? What it would feel like? What it would sound like? We're going to dream. Because sometimes in our roles, we do dream, like, man, if we could
only.
If only. Oh my gosh. That might be the title of this podcast. If only. Mark it. Yeah, exactly. If only. And so that is where we're going to go. But since I have you here,
oh boy,
because you know we share an entrepreneurial bond as well. We're both entrepreneurs, both women, and I want to go there first. Like, we're going to get to education because that's, again, by trade what we do. But how did you? Have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or how did you kind of get into that space?
So I think my first little real dig at entrepreneurship was pretty much I wanted to do nails.
Okay.
Growing up, like, I used to sit on the front porch like, come on y'all, I'll do y'all nails. Then when I went to college, I did hair in college. Like, my mother is a beautician, been a beautician as long as I can remember. So I used to perm, straighten, flat iron. That was when, you know, everybody wanted a flat iron. So I would flat iron my friends' hair or whatever, whatnot, and that would be my thing. And then at one point I was doing lashes, whatever I could think of to make me some extra change.
Like, I charging for this in college, right?
Like, it wasn't about $10, $15, you know, like, come on. Or, you know, I would do something for free because it would be like, let me get some experience, or let me try something. Let me see if I can do it, or if I can be successful.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of where that started. But when my baby came, his school, like, for like school, I would do treats and stuff like that. And then they would ask me, well, how much would you charge for this? And how much would you charge for making chocolate covered pretzels? And it kind of just went from there.
Oh.
So that's how that happened.
So it started from you just, this is what I love to do. But then it's like, oh, y'all are paying me for this? Bet.
Yeah.
Let me
a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Right. And so when I met you, I think Jason was a baby. I think he was little. He was toddler.
So when I came to Apex, it was 2016. He was about to turn 4, so he was only 3 when I first started working.
Okay. Yeah, I knew he was toddler age.
2014, 2016. He was about to turn 3.
Okay.
He was just about to turn 3.
Okay, I knew he was little.
He was itty bitty.
And so then we were there together, and then I don't. Were you doing were you doing were you doing cakes and stuff then?
I wasn't doing cakes. I was doing like chocolate covered pretzels and strawberries and that type of stuff. Like there's the treats. I would make cake pops. So cake pops was my thing.
Okay.
And I got to the point where like everybody wanted cake pops. I want cake pops. Could you make for this and could you do it for this? And I said, I ain't making cake pops. I'm not doing them no more. Like, don't call and ask me. And then I would have like my few customers that say, I just need a dozen. I just need 6. So then I would just make them into little bouquets. So then, but that's what I was doing. Like, for the most part, it was cake pops and like the little treats to go on tables and stuff like that. But.
And what people don't know about behind the scenes, cake pops, cake truffles, whatever, they're labor intensive. It looks so cute, but it's a lot of steps that go into that when you do them right. And so when you see
I cuss a lot. Like, oh my God, it's falling off the stick. Why did it fall in the chocolate? Like all of that. Like and like, okay, well what can I buy to make this easier? Or what can I put this on? I remember having a Dunkin' Donuts box. And I took this Dunkin' Donuts box and I just stuck holes in it just so I could have something to prop them up on, because it was like I had used all the little silicone things that I had with the little holes in it. I'm like, this is ridiculous, and they just falling all over the place. So it was like improvise. And I think that's kind of like where I'm at in life. Like, just what can I do to improvise and make it work? It gotta work, so we gotta figure something else out.
Yeah, and it needs to be, I'm gonna use this word, it may not be a real word, but repeatable. Sustainable, maybe that's the educated word. It has to be sustainable. Like if that Dunkin' Donuts box lasted you how long? Like a good while.
A good while.
Yeah, so it's like if I can do something and repeat the process where it's not frustrating, because then it's not fun, whether I'm making money or not. And then I got scrap and waste that is costing me money. So it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do these no more. So there are certain things on our menu as well that when somebody asks for it, although the end product is gorgeous, I'm like, I gotta start 2 days before the thing to get it going. So
I got an order right now that every time I think about it, I'm like, I gotta do a red velvet cake. I gotta make red velvet cake. Then I gotta make 3 different color icings. Then I have to go buy 2 different cake boards because it's the number 70 and they want cupcakes, and I'm like, how am I gonna make this pretty? I'm sitting up here watching Pinterest videos and TikTok and Instagram, like, oh, I could do this.
But when it's done, when it's done, and you post it, and you're just like, I did that. When you and I believe that being an entrepreneur falls in line with education, because as an educator you are creative, because you do have to figure things out. You do have to improvise, and so that the improvisation you have to do as an educator naturally morphs itself into the other area of your life. So you're like, it fits. So when you see educators who are also doing other things, it makes sense because it's a part of who we are. And I started doing this when I came out of the classroom, because I wasn't getting that my creativity fed anymore, because I wasn't in the class in front of kids. And so I'm like, I felt stunted in my creativity. So I'm like, what else? Now cake, we've been doing that forever, but doing podcasts is just something that allows me to talk to people I know who, we all live these, dynamic lives. We're not just one thing to one person, we're multiple things. And then how can we vibe on a different level?
Right. How long have you been doing cakes?
We started, this is 2023. We started in 2012. So before that, and my grandmother doesn't know this, and she just turned 90 this past year, and I'm going to take this over to her house, but she hand wrote her 7-Up cake recipe for us, just to give it to us. And so that was the recipe that started our business. So we took that and then we morphed it into our own pound cake recipe. And so I had lost my job in 2012. And so we started baking. Some people say, how much would you sell? We just make them out of, just come over and get one. We don't charge. And then, my income was gone. I went back to school, and then Jay was like, we should start selling them.
That's funny.
And we did, and we stood in our kitchen, and me, him, and Kristen got in a circle, and we prayed pound for pound into existence. And we first started, and we were putting our cakes in the paper boxes, and we had the paper, the cardboard rounds. We used to write Jeremiah 29:11 on the bottom of the cake round, and put it in there, because we was like, this was God. Like, we did it out of necessity. This was gas money. This was grocery money that we needed. But, now, we've literally replaced our HVAC in our house, like the heating and cooling system. And that's what we said. We was like, we got 2 years, same as cash for this stuff. This cake business is gonna pay for it. We're not gonna put no money out of our pocket. And for 2 years, the money that we made, we pay for it. So it's like, we love doing it. It's a passion. Sometimes, you got a full-time job, and you got you got a side business. You're like, how my week gonna look? Because
I like to go outside, so and I think that's my biggest. Honestly, that's my biggest thing. I like to go outside, and then when the weekends come, I'm like, I ain't doing no cakes. I'm going outside. But then, so this is the thing. I know I like to go outside. I started doing Lyft. So when did I start doing Lyft? I think I did Lyft in 2020. I started doing Lyft. Like right after COVID. Once we opened back up, or whenever we opened back up, I started doing Lyft because we had went to Florida, and we was in a Lyft, and I was talking to the Lyft driver, and I was like, well, why do you do this, and what else do you do? And he was like, oh, I'll retire, and I just drive when I get ready to, and I can make this amount of money. I think he said about $200 in about 3 hours or 4 hours, and I kind of just map my day out around driving Lyft. And if I drive enough, I got enough to pay my bills for the week, or I got enough to pay my mortgage. Like it was just like, oh, okay. How much is the most you ever made in a day?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I made about $400 in one day, but I was out for about 6 hours. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna try this out. The most I made in one day from actual driving, well, let me say nothing. I picked up these girls. My brother wasn't driving. I dropped him off at work. I'm like, let me turn my Lyft on. This is like 4:45 in the morning. Turn my Lyft on. I got a ride. I had to go from Solon to 140 something in Kane. I go on Kane, go pick these girls up. They get in the car, and we going Brunswick, maybe? Okay. Somewhere on the west side. And the girl get in the car, and like, they talking back and forth, and I'm thinking they strippers, because they dress like they strippers, but they strippers and had a long night. But the one girl said, I gotta go get my sugar daddy out of jail. I said, out of jail?
Plot twist.
So I said, okay, so y'all have a good night, and we talking and we jam and listen to the music, and then they get to talking. You know what? I can't sign for him to get out of jail. And the other one said, I can't either. I said, well, why not? They both said, we have warrants. One had a warrant in New York, the other one had a warrant somewhere in Cleveland. Whoa. So they couldn't sign them out of jail. So it was like, well, would you sign them out? I said, for about $200, yeah, I'll do it. $200 later, I done signed this man out of jail.
Oh my God.
Picked him up from jail. He got out of jail. Listen, he got out of jail. He said, take me over there to the ATM. The jail was on this side of the street. The ATM was on the other side of the street. Took him to the ATM and he gave me $200.
Okay.
Then he said, well, I'm trying to put in for a Lyft to go to Akron, but it won't let me do the Lyft. So he said, well, could you put it in your phone and see how much they'll charge me to go from here, wherever it was at, Brunswick or wherever, to Akron? And he gave me the address. I put it in my phone. I said, I think it was like the XL or whatever, the Lyft XL. I think it was like $50 or $60. He said, okay, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you another $50 on top of that. So I made like $325 just off of that one ride, because I got paid for taking them to the jail. Then I got paid for signing them out. Then I got paid for driving them to Akron. all in one day. By 7 o'clock in the morning, I had made $300 something. All I had to do was go home and kick my feet up.
And you got a story.
And I got a story.
A story to tell.
Yes, like so. And from then on, my mother be like, "Them people's is crazy. You gonna go out there and try?" Yes, I am. I'm going to get all of this money. And then once with Lyft, I was able to learn the algorithms pretty much. So like, yeah, I would drive during certain hours and peak times, and I would look in the app. I made all type of money, and it was like vacation money.
Yeah.
So
and when you say okay, and I, to go from when, we did it, it was out of necessity. It was like, hey, let's try this, let's see. And then when we did it, and now it's like, I don't scoff at God's blessings. I don't do that. I don't care if it's one cake, it's all increased. And I thank God for every single time. And so, but now it's like whatever we make, because we have a weekly standing order with a business that we've been doing for like the past 7 years, which is a blessing. And so we do that, and then we just split, like whatever it is, we split it. And so it goes, because whatever, but we just split it and put it in our pocket. And then it's like haircut money, or it's this, or it's that, but we're just like, it's still fun, and it's a legacy. It's like, when you go to a place, and sometimes we go there and we'll buy our own stuff. We'll go and buy like products from there just to see how they package it, and number one, see what they charge you for it. But we'll buy it, and it's like, this is ours. Like we did this, and it's just really to know that you are creating something that, and people think enough of your product to order it and reorder it and tell people about it and stuff like that. And so, how did Closet Treasures come about?
Closet Treasures. So I have 2 best friends. Well, I actually have 4 best friends, but 2 of my best friends and I were talking on the phone like, well, what can we do to make some money together? And the biggest thing was like, we all like fashion. We all got different body types. So I'm like the short, round one. And then Tia is like the tall, hippie one. And then Tiana is like, she's shapely, but she's not like overly vivacious. You know what I'm saying? And none of us are like super sexual where we gotta wear the most sexy is and the next, nothing like that. So our whole thing was like, how can we make some money? How can we feed off of what our strengths are when it comes to fashion and sustainable clothing that's comfortable and affordable? And so that was our vision. So we just pretty much came up together like, well, what we gonna call it? Closet Treasures. The number treasures is TR and the number 3 because it's 3 of us. Yeah. So, and like over time it's like, okay, well, what we gonna order? So we get on the phone or on a Zoom. At this time we was on a Zoom because my one friend Tia, she was living in Georgia. So we literally would get on the phone, schedule these we'll be on the FaceTime and on the computer all at the same time. We're gonna go through these different websites. We bought different vendors list and things like that, so we can find stuff that we like, and we literally sit there and we read the captions, we read the materials if they got stretch in there, because if they don't have no stretch, we not trying to buy it. If we need something with stretch, because these hippie ladies here, and we got some round areas that we want to cover. So that was pretty much how that came along. Like, and Tia's very business minded. She has multiple businesses. Tiana is a nurse, but she's very hands on and wants to, she whatever we tell her to do, not like that, but like whatever it is that she can do to help the business, she gonna do it. Like, that's my partner when she's on the nursing assignment now, but when she was here, like, all right, we're gonna meet at the storage unit at this time. We're gonna pack this car up. I mean, she come through and pack it up. You think she done packed up a house in 5 minutes. So she come, we pack it up, we go to the pop-up shops, and we just, got different energy, and we all bounce off each other. So that's pretty much how I came on. What can we do? Because we all make money, and we're all professionals in different type of ways. But how can we bring some more money to it? So that we can keep growing.
Right.
So that's,
Now, is your goal to keep it there, or would you ever invest in like a brick and mortar, or you right now you like the pop-up?
We broke. We need some more people. Buy some closet treasures. We is broke, so So we thought about it. We thought honestly thinking about like a loft space because we don't need a big space.
Yeah.
If you get the right loft space and then you still have your website and all those things. We thought about doing those things, but right now we broke. That's all I got. Like, so we just still trying to make sure that we're ordering things that people really want to buy and like, and it's a lot of trial and error. Right now we got a really good sale right now. Nothing over $20, including bubble jackets. Stuff that you gonna need in the fall.
Yeah.
Like, so go ahead and buy that stuff right now. But it's just like we gotta get rid of this stuff to be able to bring in new stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people say Cleveland is a word of mouth place. So if people that are the it people aren't wearing your things or posting your stuff or reposting your stuff, you don't really get as much exposure. I believe that to a certain extent, but it's also how much work you put into it.
I believe that too.
And because we are always busy, like I said, she's on an assignment, and then my friend Tia, she has multiple small businesses that her husband manage. They have properties and all of that good stuff. So, she's busy on a different type of scale.
Yeah.
She may not be in an office building or, get up and go to a workplace every day, but she's busy all the time.
Yeah.
So our strive or like our grind is a little different. So we just gotta get it out there a little bit more. But I think it will be successful as long as we stay pushing forward to be successful.
And I think that goes along with perseverance is a part of being an entrepreneur. Like when it is in a lull, when it is in a ain't nobody ordering, ain't nobody, oh my goodness, it's like, wow, you like, do you pivot? What do you do? And mama, sometimes you do have to wait it out. Sometimes you do have to say, okay, we need to do this or that, or what's the short-term goal, long-term goal, and those types of things separate people who just go into it thinking, oh, I'm about to be a millionaire, and it's like,
oh no,
maybe one day, if that's the goal, like, but the work you put into it, like you said, that is a huge part in being successful. But that also, when you have your main gig, same thing. Like what you put into it
is what you're gonna
get out of it. You know what I'm saying? Your attitude about it and being in it. Like why are you in it? Why do you do it? If the only reason, like the main, of course, ain't nobody working for free. Let's be clear.
The main reason was money for education, Lord. We gotta reevaluate our situation.
Yeah, because that don't play out for nobody in education. Because even and this is what I find. People who are because we're in charter district, we're in charter network. Folks we may look at a public and be like, man, they making money over there. You get on that side, they still saying they don't make enough money. Well, which is it? Because we're over here like we need to make more, but you have people who are over there, and it's like, but no, we need to make more, and so it's like that is so subjective. That idea is so subjective because they would never come on this side and be like, you do what for how much? I would never do that. And for us, it's like I would love to make the leap, depending, because there's some. There's pros and cons to everything. And so it's like, but it's still so subjective because you would think the grass is greener, but then folks who are on the green that let me see, talk personally, that I would think is green grass, and they like, no.
So let me just say, I've been in that green grass. I did it for a year. I was in a self-contained ED classroom in a public school. It was one of the worst experiences that I ever had in my life.
Wow. You said a year. You said 1 year.
I did a year. Like, I never was the person that would call off or just not go to work or whatever. Like, listen, I need y'all to come here and get these kids. I'm going home. I was in there with about 6 boys. It was only 3 girls in there. Everybody had issues. I done got called all type of names. The one little boy, he claimed he didn't do it on purpose, but we were coming out the door together and he smashed the door on my arm, on my wrist. he wound up getting expelled and all of that stuff. You still have to go through a manifestation hearing, through all that, because they were spared. They were all spared. They were, like I said, in the ED unit. They were 100% capable of completing grade level work. I had 6th through 8th grade, all in one classroom. I was responsible for teaching general education standards and following along with their IEPs and their goals and doing behavior goals and writing IEPs. And I had an aide that was, I had an aide.
Okay, got it.
So, it was, I think, very difficult. But it also goes back to my first experience in education, my first job out of school, which was at, I guess it's charter, but it was therapeutic.
Okay.
And I worked there for 3 months. Cause I would go in there and she makes me want to punch her in the throat. Like, you're too disrespectful for me.
That's not a good feeling at all.
And then you calling me what? And I had to remember, like, you're fresh out of college. This is your first year out of college.
Yeah.
This is, you're working here to get some experience and all of those things. And I was like, well, I don't know. And then I know I wasn't going to actually put my hands on this person, but the people that I work with, they didn't believe that. So I was let go, but it was probably the best thing that could have happened. And it was crazy because years later, the one girl that got on my nerves, I seen her at Strongsville Mall. She recognized who I was. I didn't know that girl from a can of paint until she started talking. And she was like, yes, Ms. Whitsett, I'm graduating. I got a son, but I'm doing real good. I'm working. I'm taking care of my business. I'm going to graduate from school on time. Like, and that made me feel good because, like I said, at that point in time, she was in maybe the 8th or 9th grade. It may be 9th grade because it was a 9 through 12 classroom.
Okay.
And another situation, about 12 kids, and they were all ED, like extreme ED. The one black girl didn't like black women.
Okay.
Because her twin was separated. She hated her mother. She was being raised by an Asian lady. My presence alone, being a black woman there as a teacher, was enough for her to be like, I hate her.
And that's, so I'm sure it was said, but it was also in the relationship. We're big on relationship building. We say that a lot. And so to try to leap that hurdle when my very presence is an annoyance to you, like that part. But to focus on, her seeing you years later, and that right there is the essence of why we do what we do, because we are a part of, like, we have more kids come across our path than the flip side of kids who have teachers that cross their path, if that makes sense. So it's like, you want to remember everybody, and you're not, because as we get older, the brain just don't brain. Like, after a while, there's just so much in there.
And they all look alike. They start just blending together like,
the years blend together, right. But when you're recognized, or when they come, I went back to my old campus this past school year, and I was there for 4 years. Yeah, because I've been at this campus. It'll be just 3 years this year.
That is so crazy.
I know, I've been gone.
Like you've been gone.
I know, right? I know, it's what I said out loud. But when I went back to my old campus under the network I'm at now, and I went in the classroom, and I was there doing a walkthrough for something completely unrelated to anything, and one of my students saw me, and he literally jumped out of his seat to come run to me. Now, he checked with the teacher first, and she said, absolutely, and he ran and gave me the biggest hug. And I hadn't seen him, and I taught him in person, and then that was a COVID year. We went home, and then the next year, we fought for him so bad not to retain him. And when I tell you, I have never fought for a child so hard to not retain. I was like, he worked so hard and he doesn't deserve. And they nope, and his mom wanted until they did. But when I taught him online the next year, but so 2-3 years later, he saw me, and just that impact, and I was like, this is why. This is why. And even though education is broken, and we know it's broken, the brakes be beat off it often. We know that we stay because we know we impact. Number two things happen. We impact kids, and they also impact us.
Mm-hmm.
And education does one or two things. It shows you what you're made of, good or bad, but it also teaches you if it's for you. And if it's not for you, that's not bad. It's bad when you know it's not for you and you stay.
You stay. Mm-hmm.
That's when you
you're doing a disservice to the kids. You're doing a disservice to the building and the culture of your building.
Yes.
100% disservice to the culture of the building because you're not showing strength. If I don't know, cause I look at some of these newer teachers and I get it, like this your first year, but you gotta like get some backbone. You gotta remember that these are children. You were once a child, so you have to kind of like not say treat them like your parents did, but you also have to put your foot down. You can't show a sign of weakness the first 3 weeks of school. They can smell it. They know you soft batch when you get the call in the administrators every 7 minutes. Listen.
7 minutes, that's a long time. I'm just playing.
That is. I was giving them a little, you know.
I got you.
In my mind, number 7 is the number of completion. So if you complete that first 7 minutes, you win it. Go ahead and push through for the next 7 minutes. And just like, I try to tell my teachers, like, you have to kind of give yourself some grace. Mm-hmm. And if you need a moment to step out, call, but go back in there with a whole nother attitude and a whole nother vengeance because I've been that person.
Yeah.
I was like, listen, I gotta go. Y'all, somebody can come in here. Y'all can teach these kids because somebody either the parents gonna teach them or you gonna get Pookie. That's my mama. You gonna get Pookie, and today Pookie is telling me go sit down somewhere because I'm not doing it. Like, so you gotta kind of like feed into the people that you work with, but it's so hard when they not really there. Like I'm there because I know I needed a job and I was moving, or like I moved from California, now I'm here, or I moved from the Philippines. Like. And then I understand companies want to give people jobs and chances and opportunity. You have to, I feel like companies don't look into their building. You don't look into your kids and say, this person got this qualification, they have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, they taught in public, they've taught in charter, they've done this and done that, but can they really handle these things? Why have they taught in all of these different environments? Why have they changed all of these different jobs? Like what is it?
Yeah, that and a couple of things, and then we're gonna swiftly move into while we're together. But I think the pandemic did one thing to an already broken system, is that it opened it up for people to try teaching. I'm a try teaching. What? These are not shoes. You can just try them on. It's like, oh, they don't fit no more. Or, I thought they felt good, but they make my bunion hurt, so I'm gonna get out. That's not what that's what it has happened after the pandemic too. Even now, that's why there's a short, all this stuff, because it's like just widening that gate for a need, because there was a shortage, there was all these things happening. But the disservice, it created a bigger likelihood of the disservice happening. And so with that being said, I want to I want to go back to, because this is my point of reference when I became an educator. How was I educated? I didn't go to school for education. Education is my second career.
Really?
Yeah, I have an accounting degree.
I don't even do my taxes.
I'm not a tax accountant.
Oh man.
But
I'm mad if I don't do my taxes. You gonna take my money and give it to somebody else.
Siri always talking. But my reference point before I went to school was how I was educated and how I came up, and so that was my idea as I walked in. Quickly learned after my first year that, girl, You ain't. That's not it. And I had to develop my teacher persona, which has me in it in the core, but your teacher persona is different because you do have to stand square footed and square shouldered and exert your authority. You do have to do those things in a way that's loving. Because I can go into auntie mode real quick in the classroom, but I care. But you're gonna get this education. That's who I am at my core. But you wrap that in. I'm here to educate you. I'm not your friend. I'm not your mama. I present myself friendly, but I'm not your friend. You know, there's boundaries and all these things that you have to learn and develop. So my reference point again, I said as I was educated. So when I was in school, teacher said it, that was it. Wasn't no talk back because the fear was you gonna call my mama or you was gonna call home, and if you call home, my whole everything was destroyed. It was, I know I can't have that, because if you call Mary, it's gonna be a problem for me. Immediately.
And you know what? I didn't have I didn't have that fear of my mom in the sense of, oh, don't call my mother. But I also knew that, like, I was in love with school. I loved it. I want to go to school every day. I'm not missing a beat. So it was nothing that could happen in a school day that would make me be like, I ain't going to school and I'm going to get this. Like, I've always loved school.
So was it you loved being educated? Was it a social thing? Like, what was it about school that you
I think loved? It was everything. Honestly, for me, it was everything. Like, I had the bomb friends. You couldn't tell me and my friends wasn't the bomb. I had the bomb friends. I loved all of my teachers. I remember my 5th grade teacher, Mr. Correo. We were at Paul Revere. My mother was sick. She had to have surgery. And of course, they're going to send you to school not knowing that's an emotional time for you, too.
Yes.
I remember this man, to make us be quiet, he used to take a yardstick. I don't know how many yardsticks he went through. He used to take that yardstick and crack it across the desk. And everybody stopped what they was doing and they was quiet. However, that time when my mom was sick and he knew I was like not myself and was emotional. I remember he had the coat rooms where you go in on both sides. So he took me in the coat room and we standing there and I'm bawling, crying my little heart away. He's like, Temika, this is gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. I'm sure your mom is gonna be fine. Like, I remember that so vividly.
Yeah.
And there's not one teacher that I had that I can say that didn't impact me positively. Even though I had in high school Mr. Bynum, John Bynum. Chemistry class in high school, I used to go in his classroom and I would sit at my desk and he'd be like, Whitsett, what, Mr. Bynum? What I do today? He would be like, you ain't got no coops. I don't know who gonna marry you. I'm like,
high school teacher.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Leave me alone. So it got to the point where I would go in the classroom, I would get my work, and I would sit on the floor in the back of the classroom just so he wouldn't talk to me. But I promise you, like, I learned a lot in that classroom. He reminds you of Bill Cosby.
Okay.
Brown pants, plaid shirt, suspenders, big pop bottle glasses, and the low haircut and the little beard or whatever. Like, I don't know, but Mr. Bynum was my kryptonite, but that's who I always dealt with. Like, so, you know, you're going to have those teachers, but not one of my teachers made me ever feel like I wasn't learning, that I wasn't going to be successful, or success wasn't an option. So, and I think that's something that I kind of instill in my kids. Success is always an option, but it depends on you. It depends on what you put into it, how much you want to get out of it. And like literally, I think that's been my whole conversation this school year. What do you want to get out of this year? Do you want to be successful? Do you want to see growth? Do you like? And we can talk E.P.I.C scores and NWEA scores and all of those things to these kids, and they looking at us like that's foreign because they don't understand it. They don't know what it means. They don't know how is it benefiting me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to talk to you in a way that you know is going to be beneficial. Short term and long term. Okay, if you do this well today, you'll be able to do this tomorrow. If you do this well all week, you'll be able to do this on Friday. If you get to this point by the end of the school year, man, you're going to have a lot more intelligence, and you won't get to do all of these events I got planned for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when you have leaders that only want to talk numbers and PI scores to parents that don't understand it.
Yeah.
And then you want a kid don't care nothing about a PI score.
Not really.
So it's just like
right. And so I was telling, I can't remember what I was telling, but I remember we
Sorry,
took.
there goes that tangent.
No, we took. It's fine. I told you. Start one place, go. It's fine. I have no problem. I remember taking the California Achievement Test. This was elementary. No, yeah, up through high school, but it didn't mean anything. It didn't stop me from passing. It didn't do anything. The results would come in the mail to my house over the summer. You would read it, and it would tell you what level. It would just, intermediate, advanced. That was it. And so, and when I took it in school, but I got the results over the summer. And when I came back to school, nobody ever talked about it. Asked me, "What'd you get on your California Achievement Test?"
Right. What'd you get on your cat?
Right.
I don't know.
Nothing.
Or and then how many of us actually know? Like, how many of us, our parents actually said, "Here, this is what this is, and this is what this means, and this is what you're gonna do with this." None of them.
No.
None of them.
Even when I remember, this is before the OGT existed, which I don't even think is in existence anymore. They earn the points.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened when Kristen graduated.
Oh, I don't even know. I'm so far removed from that.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen when your son gets to high school. Like, I don't even know what it's gonna mean, but. They gave us the practice graduation test in 1992 when I graduated high school. I remember this clear as day. They was like, this doesn't mean anything. They just piloting or testing out this thing. Just take this test. One of the questions, this was I was 18. I'm no longer 18, but I remember this question. The question was, which one of these shapes represents the United States? So I look up from the question, and I'm looking around like, now, punks didn't exist back then, but I'm like, are they for real? It was and I'm like, if you don't know the shape of the United States, they're playing, right? Mm-hmm. So I took it, and I never got results because it was just a whole, but then, by the time I got out of college, maybe, I think that's when they had kicked in the OGT.
Yeah, that was in 96. 96, 97.
And that's when I graduated from college.
And I was in the ninth grade in 96. So I went to the ninth grade.
And so now there's this, forget all the effort you put in your classes. This test at the end can determine if you get a diploma or a certificate of attendance. Mm-hmm. And as a 22-year-old, I'm like, that's bull. And so thinking about those things, and again, I'm sure, and I don't know, but in the 80s, when I went to school, were there people that said education is broken? Maybe. Because, still redlining existed and funding and all that was still a thing back then. Mm-hmm. But for me, I remember when we got our first computer. I was in 6th grade, and they brought this computer in the classroom, and we all like, ooh, what's that? And I remember in middle school at Margaret Stellicy when we had a whole computer room, and so just those types of things where we were exposed to computer programming and stuff that seemed so foreign to all these little black kids. And it was like, but it was good. Mm-hmm. And I did love school. I did love learning, and my teachers made it fun. And I just remember all the great things about school. And now on the flip side, being in education, now my mind is like, I know the parameters we have. I know what we're supposed to do. I know what the goals are. You have to. But it's like, man, if only, to your words at the beginning. So now, if only. And there's a long list, but top 3. We gonna say more than 3, I know. But we gonna start with top 3 things you would change about education.
Ooh, I should have been thinking about this last night.
I should have sent it as pre-work. I apologize.
Top 3, what would I change? One thing for sure is the expectation that everybody should score a certain score. Like, they should be at this certain point, and that determines if they're going to be successful or should go to the next grade. Mm-hmm. Like, I really believe that just because I'm not really, really good at math doesn't mean that I can't learn other, in the word to spare, accommodations to make me successful in these areas, or there's not going to be other things that come along in my path or a career path that will help me understand my bills and money and things like that. And ultimately, let's be honest, a lot of that stuff you learn in school, you don't even get to use it. Give me something that's going to be worth something, valuable, in the long run. Like, teach me financial literacy at 7. And about money, not just 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s. How can money, or how is money the base of how you're going to be successful? Don't nobody care about how much education you have once you're successful at all. I can be a person on the street that don't have no education. I didn't go no further than the 6th grade, but I could be a millionaire. And there's so much more engulfed in the fact that I'm a millionaire. And how did I make that money?
Then do
you have a degree?
Yeah.
It's jobs out here today. My brother works at a factory. He makes more money. He technically makes more money than I do. And he don't have $100,000 in student loans. So I guess that's my one thing. I feel like education should teach kids that there's multiple paths to success.
That's one. That's okay. Yes.
So that's one. Multiple paths to success. I don't believe that school days have to be long as ever for you to get all of the things that these kids need to learn in their head. But if you're going to have a long school day, there should be a break between education and books and things like that to real life experiences. Go back to that home ec. Go back to that tech classes where they're wood crafting and stuff like that. Wood shop, all of that stuff. Art, real art classes, things like that. Like, we had in middle school, I was in every band, every choir, everything. But whereas these schools now, that's the first thing that go. Like, those are the things that builds well-rounded kids or well-rounded adults because they've had experiences. I can ask any of my kids, when have you ever been to an opera? You may not like it, but have you ever been?
Yeah. We used to go to the Nutcracker every year when I was in school.
I did the
as a field trip.
I did the Fledermaus in elementary. We did the opera in our building. We learned the song from that opera, from that whatever it was called, and then we went to go see it at the Cleveland Playhouse. Like, those are things that I remember. Going to the Playhouse, getting dressed up with my frilly socks, folded socks down, and then we got to wear pretty dresses and all of that stuff. Like, these kids don't know that you should dress up for certain things. And it's not just about a job interview when you should dress up. You should dress up because you want to look a certain kind of way. My kids at my school was like, well, why do we have dress code? Why y'all so hard on us about dress code? Because one day when you leave these buildings or this classroom or whatnot, and you go to a job, you're gonna have a dress code. It may not be a uniform per se, but you might have a dress code where you have to wear slacks and shirt and a tie or a dress, or even as a teacher, we have to wear age appropriate and we can't be too revealing and things like that. So this is why you have dress code, and there's rules. So once you don't fit everybody, give these kids some life skills and something that's going to make them want to come back. Feed into their talents. Feed into their talents. We got some talented kids. We do. And then my third one, let's see. Ooh, special education, I guess that's like my biggest one. even though it's the third thing on my radar, but that's like the biggest thing. Inclusion ain't for everybody. And the push for inclusion, I'm still on the fence with it because some kids need way more. And if you put them in a life skills position within a middle school or a high school and give them those skills that they need, because they gonna need like survival things. And them sitting in a classroom with 30, 40 other kids and they already don't understand what's going on, this is a waste of their life and time. Time that they can't get back. And then with the shortage of intervention specialists can make up to $45 an hour teaching remote.
Wow.
Teaching remote. I know this
For a fact.
For a fact. I interviewed with a company that said you will be remote.
We had a remote intervention specialist last year. She lived in Florida. And they put her on a computer in front of, and I was like, "This is a thing. What?" Yeah.
Definitely a thing.
Yeah.
You can have an Ohio license, be sitting on the beach.
On a Zoom room.
On a Zoom. All you gotta do is have a background and have some bells and whistles, or be able to do some things with the Zoom chats and the breakout rooms, and you're fine.
According to the parameters they've set.
So those are my three. Like, redo SPED, go back to the drawing board, figure it out, redo how schools are structured for what these kids need. Because guess what? Mommy not at home to be able to teach you how to cook appropriately and fire safety and things like that. So why not teach these kids? And you got some kids that can cook.
Yeah.
Oh, you can cook lunch for the kids in your building and make you some money.
We had that. And when you said go back to like home ec, I remember making shorts in my home ec class. I remember cooking, and when I was a senior and I was out of home ec, I went to Collinwood and they would make Polish boys for lunch. And you would go around that corner, and they had the half door, and they would open up that half door, and you would go get your Polish boy for lunch because the home ec kids was making lunch for everybody. And wood shop, like learning how to use those tools and learning, so it's not and then like you say, peel it out, and now you got to go to a vocational school to do these certain things, and
you gotta pay for it. When you can get it for free.
Should.
And by the time you're 18, you gotta trade.
For me, when I learned why school was created, when I went back to school and I took my education 101 or whatever, and they talked about education was created for socialization and morality, like to a construct of, it was a social construct. It wasn't for education, because they was farmers. You was about to take over this farm when when you got grown.
And that's why we got our breaks in different times and points of the year, because they needed the kids to go outside, and you need to go pick this cotton, and you need to go do this, and you need to help on the farm, and you got to go milk the cows and all of that stuff. So therefore, this is why we had these different breaks, but they didn't put thought into it and how it will flourish.
And so now I remember I read this article called it was Digital Natives versus Digital Immigrants. And so the digital natives are our children who they don't know life without technology at all. They don't have a reference point. That is their reference point. Where me, I remember life before a cell phone. I remember life before, like, there was a point where it just didn't exist. So I'm a digital immigrant. And so we have these antiquated notions where we want kids to come in this room and sit in these rows and take this pencil and write on this paper and do these things for an hour block of time.
Who, you got hours? We got 90 minutes.
We got 62-minute blocks right now. But
I take that.
Yeah, but when you got a curriculum that's set up for 80, 90 minutes, you gotta pare it down. But that's a whole other ball of wax.
Right.
And then Lord have mercy.
90 minutes.
My brain is fried always at this time of night.
Yeah, I believe it.
You be in the school building all day, and our school day is an hour less than last year, and so we still trying to do all the things in less time. And so you like, we hit the ground running, and by 2 o'clock when it's time to go, I'm like, what did I do today? Like, it just feels like it's in a blink of an eye, the day is gone. But we're having our kids, I think we're pulling them backwards when we pull them. And so for me, I agree with you 100%. Like, what's relevant? Because if you know, why do I need to learn this? That's what kids, and what does our teacher answer? This teaches you how to think. There's so many ways to teach our kids how to think. For me, the issue is the time and money it would take to break it. It's already broken at its core, but to deconstruct what we have to rebuild it, and here's my super frustration, and I just for all intents and purposes, I don't like the phrase urban education. I know what it is. I work in it. But I think it comes with a certain connotation and a stigma that I don't like. And so, but things that we're talking about, if only, and if we dream about what education is, it exists in other places. There's schools that have project-based learning. There are kids that have robotics. There's schools that teach financial literacy. My daughter is going to BG right now for forensic investigation because she had a forensics class in high school. Something so quote unquote random, but she chose it and it sparked something in her to choose it to go to school.
It made her want to do it.
It made her want to do it. Now, granted, our district is not, not top tier, but there are districts that have reimagined education, and it's not, there's freedom in it. And I think in the urban area, urban education, we have these constraints on us. And even if we break it down and come in closer into our classroom, it's like, but if I let them just do it, what if they don't do it right? You're an educator. We teach our kids how to do it.
You gotta let them fail so that you can redirect them into success.
Yeah.
Like, you have to give them the opportunity to mess up.
Yes.
Go ahead. You know what? I ain't even gonna say nothing. Go ahead. Show me what, and then at that point, talk me through what you were thinking.
Yes.
Because that's the way to teach somebody to think. Let them talk you through what they were thinking. Yep. And then you'll be able to get a better understanding of where they were going and then where the disconnect was.
Yeah. I think for me, it's definitely around curriculum for me. I think curriculum.
We're going to write our own.
You heard it first. Because I honestly, and I can get on the soapbox and argue somebody down about teaching kids rote memorization for math facts. Because there are proponents that say they don't do that. That's not teaching them how to think in this.
It's memorization.
Memorization. But I tell you what, when I taught middle school math for 7 years, and every baby, not every baby, but when a baby came to me and did not know their math facts, and I go back to elementary and I'm like, why not? And I'm like, why are you teaching them this way? I understand the why behind 5 times 5 is 25. I understand they need to know that, but they don't need to know that at 5 or 6. They need to know that 5 times 5 is 25. So when they get to me and I put a variable in front of them, it doesn't blow their mind. Because they don't know what 5 times 5 is. And now I'm going to say 5 times A equals 25. What's A? Excuse me? Why are there letters in my math? And so I think the way curriculum has been rethought, but not in a great way. In my mind, in my perspective, I think that there's multiple paths of success that you said. I think there's different ways to teach this kind of thing. Just what you said, having them sit. I had a teacher last year that they used to do these classroom reads, and she would let them sit wherever they wanted to. They could sit on the desk, on the floor. They could stand by the window. They could live. You don't have. She prefer you not sit at the desk, but you can do something different while we read. And they loved it because they felt like they were doing something wrong. And I'm like, no, why can't it be? And all noise ain't bad noise. And silent don't mean they learn it. And just because, you know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes silence is overrated. It can't be.
It's like 45 of them little monsters in the classroom. They all talking, and you only got one teacher, girl. So for me, and that I think that's another thing. The class sizes y'all promote, y'all say, oh, we got small class sizes, but you only got one teacher with 40 kids in them, or you only got one teacher and it's 33rd graders.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's so much. So if we reimagined education, to your point, special education would be different. I think at the core of all of it, we break it down and start from scratch. We would have different curriculum. We would, I think lunch needs to be different. I think dismiss, like all the things, maybe not dismiss, I'm being extreme, but I'm being nitpicky.
But no,
I'm being nitpicky.
No, like my son's school, for instance, they are that school that's education reimagined. They have IB, what is it, IB something, personalities, IB principles. They think about who's a thinker, who's a communicator, who's a risk taker, it's about 7 different things, and I can't think of all of them. He will be able to tell you every last one. And how does it, they ask them frequently, are you showing that you're a risk taker? Are you showing that you are communicating well? Did you tell somebody how you felt? Did you, they touch on the social emotional. They have a really good music program where you don't have to pay for the instruments. You know, and everybody asks me, well, would you put your son in the school you work at? No. Because he's getting so many things that I can't even give him as a parent. Because I'm at work with other people's kids. So therefore, I need him to be in a place where I feel like my son is being enriched. They have a cafe in their building, I don't know what it's called, where students cook and they get to get the food and stuff that the kids make. Like it's a little nook with a little small kitchen, and I want to say maybe their middle schoolers might, cook and stuff.
But it's fostering that creativity. It's recognizing who they are, and that's why I like our social emotional learning program that we have at my school, because it allows, when it's done right and done with fidelity, it allows our kids to be seen outside of academics, because they got nothing to do with academics, nothing. And so when I did it, and I was a homeroom teacher, and I had it, the bond that I created with my homeroom, like it was a community. And it's like, hey, we rock together. I said, when you leave me, you got my name on you, like my school name on this door and my name. So we are a family.
Like, we are a family.
Yes.
And I want that to be the narrative inside of school.
Yes.
Like the way you would act in front of your mother, your birth mother, the mother who raised you, is how I expect you to act in this building around everybody else. So why should you come here and act in a way that you wouldn't do this in front of your parents? Now, granted, there are kids that don't care nothing about how they act in front of other people or their parents, but they'll come in the building and respect the mess out of you because you're giving them that structure. You're giving them an opportunity to be themselves, but you're going to be respectful. This is a respectful space, and we're going to treat everybody the same. So it's just like, we need that in one big old bubble of education. Like, I don't think the lawmakers or the rule takers or the people up on the top level making the decisions don't get to see that. And for me, coming out of the classroom in the capacity that I was telling you about, that scares me, that I'm going to lose that portion of me, because I still want to walk in the building and my kids be like, hey, Miss Whitsett, I miss you, where you been? Or, oh, Miss Whitsett, your hair, last week my hair was pink. I mean, it's still kind of thick, but
Mhm.
I came in with a whole pink swoop. Miss Whitsett, you ate that up. So, and I'm listening to how they talk, and we engage in conversation, and I may correct them, or I'll even, I ain't gonna say I'll correct them, I'll indulge in their conversation, but when it comes to certain grammatical things, I'll check them. Like, no, we ain't gonna say that. We're gonna say it this way.
Mhm.
You know, but it's still fostering their ability to be themselves and then be able to, you know, connect.
Yes.
So
Because they're still people.
Mhm.
They're not numbers, because people outside of our school buildings see numbers, they see data all the
PI
time.
scores.
Yeah,
I never knew what a PI score was
until last school year.
Yeah, I never heard
I don't
that
know what
term.
that is.
So your PI score is
I probably should know it.
no, because not. So this is what I'm learning. Not all schools use the same verbiage.
Okay. So we probably have it, but it's just like all PI.
Your PI score is like the score basically from all of the data from your kids taking tests, and it puts you in a place of how you rate against other schools. So like, you might be at a 61% in growth or whatnot for the school year, but that's your PI score. That's your growth score, or how your report card score.
Okay.
So
I that resonates with me.
Yeah, I'm like I never heard of that.
All the buckets lead to funding to some degree or level, you know. And I get it. This school, they run on money. They don't run on love. They have to run on funds. I totally
fundraise. Get out here and get a GoFundMe.
I mean, I just think that I think being in it, and that's why you stay, because you're like, man, if I'm removed from this space, you know what I'm saying, what's gonna happen when I'm gone? Mm-hmm. And I felt that way when I left, and it's always about the children. And the team, because when we was all together, it was that tore apart of my to have to go to another setting. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But it's like
that level of change.
That level of change. It is something, but it is. I don't know. I just want kids to feel seen, to feel heard, and to know that I want you to believe that you can do it, because I can believe it all day, and I can tell you, and but I need you to walk in that and know that even though it's hard, I can do hard things, and those are the softer skills. But we unfortunately measure our kids by the concrete things. What's your grades like? What's your score? Did you score this on iReady? You know, are you basic? Are you advanced at all? You know, all the proficient, and you know, what's your mastery? All of those things. Yes, that's important. But if you're not a great test taker,
doesn't matter.
Exactly. It's like, so those things, we have to have multiple ways of assessing, like all of that. And I just told somebody today, I said, we talk about economy of language when we give directions and stuff like that in our school building. We talk to our teachers about don't have too much teacher talk. Put the lift and the thinking on the kids. And that's yes, because it should be student led. You should be getting where they're dialoguing and they're building off each other's ideas and creating academic discourse. Classrooms like that are amazing to me. And then, unfortunately, we send them to high schools where teachers drone on for an hour. And they just talk, and you just sit there and take notes. And they go to college, and they sit there and they listen to somebody talking for an hour and they take notes. And I'm like, so we do all these, and we coach and do all these things for our middle school years, and then send them off to secondary and post-secondary education. And they like, y'all done told us a lie. Because now I got a notebook full of stuff I'm trying to write and take notes. And so it's a disconnect there. And I'm not saying let our elementary and middle school teachers talk for an hour. Heck no.
They're going to be bored.
The
teachers are going to be bored out of their mind, and the behaviors are going to be
through the roof. And so, and maybe, and this just came to me, so maybe developmentally, like as an adult, we go to lectures, we go to conferences, we go to PDs, and we sit there
and doodle.
Yeah. That ain't where I was going.
Well, that's where I'm going. I'm telling you, I doodle.
Yes.
I take a little note here and there.
You're
and
right.
I pop in with, I got a question because I heard something that resonated, but we're not gonna tell these people we don't sit there and doodle.
But right, but when I see, like, I saw a scholar in class and he had his notebook to the left and had his packet to the right, and they were working on something or whatever, and the scholar was drawing, and I didn't stop him because again, we are adults and we sit in meetings. When you said that, it took me back to seeing him, and I didn't say put that away, because that's like, to me, that's the same thing as if you listen to music while you study. I personally can't do that. My mind don't split that way, but other people can. They can sit and listen to music and do the other thing, and it helps them focus. Mm-hmm. And so to recognize who a kid is, he was doing, when it was time to work, he was doing both things. He was doing both. Mm-hmm. The packet wasn't on the floor, his computer wasn't closed, he was actively engaged. And
he didn't disrupt the environment.
And he didn't. And so when it was time to participate and turn and talk to a neighbor, he did the things. So it's like, and we talk about being culturally responsive, and when I first heard that and I had to read about it, people hear culture, like, oh, culturally responsive, we need to bring in some food. And no, what's the culture of your classroom? What's going on in your classroom? Mm-hmm. And be responsive to that. That is being culturally responsive, and that can happen in curriculum, that happens in social and emotional learning, that happens at lunch, it happens during arrival, it happens all throughout the day. And if you're leading with that lens, and your staff is trained, like, how do I do that? Like, I want to make sure that this is a team and family. This is what we do together. So when you leave here, the imprint that we've left on you, and that you've left on us, is one that's undeniable. Mm-hmm. It is when you see somebody in the mall, you see your teacher, and that kid who jumps up and, all these things, the notes.
I had a kid bomb rush me 2 days ago. I went to go drop off some clothes, mm-hmm. and I was in the house talking to my friend's niece, and this little girl come scooting on across past me, and I looked up, and she was like, Miss Whitsett, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I haven't seen her since she left, 8th grade, mm-hmm. So just those things, like, yes.
It's important, but I don't know, all the dismantling, and this is a part one, because it's like, we also have lenses as parents. So we're talking about education right now as educators, mm-hmm. but the second part of that is, as parents, how could school be different? And again, that's a whole nother part.
I got somebody to come in that day, let me know. But that way, we can step out of our educational piece, but when you have an actual parent,
yes,
that's parenting,
yes, and that's not 100%, because when I was going to parent-teacher conferences, I would never lead with the educator foot, because I want to know what you about to tell me, because I know double speak. I know when smoke is being blown. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I'm going to let you talk to me. I'm not, because if you know I'm an educator, you're going to be different. You're going to tighten up or whatever. You're going to talk different. Mm-hmm. And so one of Kristen's teachers, I don't know what she was saying, but it was like, I said, let me go and let the cat out the bag so this lady can stop. Because I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. But I was like, oh yeah, because I'm an educator and I teach this and that or whatever. Once I said that, now you gotta watch what you say. Now it was a whole different persona, but it's like, no, because you were, I can't remember. It was just a feeling that I was having. I'm like, she's not being forthcoming. She just, she blowing smoke. She just kind of saying stuff.
Trying to find something to say about
it was surface level. That's right. Yeah. She was just giving, like, throwing out little buzzwords, but she wasn't saying nothing. And I'm like, let's go behind the curtain and talk to me for real. Because you saying this to other parents, it sound good. That's all it was. It was just this little rehearsed speech and this, that, and forth. And I'm like, okay, but now let's talk about this. What do you guys have this? Because at the other school, she had this, that, and forth every 6 weeks, because they had, when they did RTI, It was in 6 weeks spans. It was amazing. They took their benchmark test. It was a STAR test or whatever. And for the next 6 weeks, she would either go into enrichment or she would go into intervention based on what it was. And it was a 6 week thing. It was a class. I said, can we do that? No, I can't do that. I'm like, but it's amazing because now we would take iReady more frequently, and then we could place kids, and they would have a class
specific.
We're not trying to fit in RTI into the rest of the or always saying, now what is RTI, and trying to. It was actually designed as a 6 week cycle. It went all year round, but it was a block of time that they took. You were either being enriched or you were in intervention.
Because at that point, I'm not about to have you sitting in the classroom with a bunch of people that don't know this material, and you over here like, all right, I'm bored. Can I do something else?
Right.
Can I, and that was another thing. His school, he has an enrichment class, or he's advanced in reading. He goes to enrichment class for reading and writing. But math, he stays in his gen ed classroom and does the work.
And there's no stigma. When Kristen had to go for the 6 weeks of intervention, it's to make you better. It's to take you where you are and grow you. So there was
they call
no
that Title One. Title One is, but the Title One is for the kids that are not performing well. So if you got a Title One for kids that are not performing well, why wouldn't you have a Title One for those who are?
Yeah, because those kids, and that's we're always focused on the bubble kids or the kids or so many grade levels, and then our scholars who need to be enriched. We're trying to figure out what to do with them, or they're not seen at all.
Or you got that one teacher that might say, "Okay, I see you.
Yep.
You need this. Here, go do this 9th grade work because you over here surpassing this 7th and 8th grade work." Or I see you. Yeah, your verbal skills are much better than you writing it down. So guess what? I'm gonna have you verbally give me the answers. Those are those small things that you can take as a teacher, and a lot of teachers don't realize, like, everybody's not gonna write well. Everybody's not going to speak well. But if you have somebody that can verbalize and have a whole conversation with you about a topic or a subject, and they can give you back what you've given them, that's enough to give them a grade that's worth something.
Yeah.
Instead of what you see on a piece of paper.
We had a student last year teaching himself Japanese or Korean or something. Crazy. He was teaching himself. And so he would like come in and I'm like, what's the word for today? He would just say it to it. Because I knew that about him. It was just a little fun fact that he brought up. And so you just talk to him about it, and like when you got him engaged in that, we talking about NFTs, and I'm like, he like took one of my erasers and tore it up because he needed a break. And I was like, oh dude, turn this into something else. I'm gonna take a picture of it and turn it into an NFT, and we gonna sell it out in the blockchain. I just started talking about some metaverse stuff or whatever. He was like, for real, we could do that? But it's like just little stuff like that to make a connection. And so no, we can't just sit and pick flowers all day, because that's not education. But if only we were given the space. But some people, I went to a conference last year in California. There are people who are culturally responsive. They see the need of their community, and they step outside, and they have built their own schools and networks. They've done it. They're like, this is not serving me, so I'm going to fundraise, because if I don't take any government money, I don't have to do what you say.
Yeah.
And it was maybe 5 people on this panel, and they all had stepped out and built. The one lady, her son she said, I needed to get a school that was going to serve my son. She's like, no, so now other people get to benefit from it, but that was my goal. And I don't think any of them. The one school she was talking about, it was a high school, and they had to figure out, she said the first time we had to figure out, when our kids apply to college, like, colleges need all this stuff that we have to give them, so they learn that way, but they learned it, and now they have no problems. But it's like, we had to, the public school was not giving us what we needed. So it's happening, and it's there, and it's like, if more people do that, then the public schools will have, because they don't have no kids, they wouldn't have any children. And it's like, okay, number one, funding, of course, because schools don't run off love, run off money. But two, it takes, and I'm saying that because we have this spirit, this entrepreneurial spirit in us, like, hey, we had an idea to do something else. Do we also have an idea in this? We know it's hard work to step out and do something that radical and drastic.
If you think about it, charter schools are ran by entrepreneur and business people. Most charter schools were started by a business person that said, hey, I want to start a school. I want to start a business. I done worked in about 2 or 3 different charter schools, and their CEOs was doctors, former lawyers, people that worked in finances. They ain't know a can of paint from a can of oil. And they came in and said, hey, we're going to just go ahead and open up these schools, and we're going to put these standards in. And
issue becomes when they take government money, it looks just like, it looks like the other. And it's like, I get it, but and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna end on this, and I just want to mic drop it, because it's gonna sound how it sound. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different result. So if you gonna go open a school, that's the same thing, but you think you're gonna get a different result, but you doing the same thing, refer to my former statement. Thank you for joining me. This is not gonna be the last time, because we gotta have a part.
We got a whole bunch of other stuff to
unpack.
Decompose it. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah, it's unpacking this. This was the tip of the iceberg, but I think I got my 3-4 series I need to complete. It's gonna happen. But thank you all for joining. As always, you can check me out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. I have an Instagram, that's One Epic Experience. Facebook page, Epic Experiences. My personal socials is Sinitra Skalearn. I have an email that is what is my email? I'm using this a lot. oneepicexperience@gmail.com if you ever want to join and talk about just about anything that's epic. Hit me up, email me, I will get back to you, inbox me, all the things, and come join us on this couch. It's lovely over here.
It is.
Yes, thank you, Miss Whitsett. It has been epic.